Good morning. What an amazing region we have. Isn't that tremendous? Welcome to the 4th annual Leeds-Grenville 14th annual, out of 10 years, just like that, 14th annual Leeds-Grenville Economic Development Summit. My name is Ann Weir. I'm your Economic Development Manager for the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville and your MC for today. What a year it has been. Most of us has become experts in virtual meetings. And for the most part, I think we figured out the mute and unmute button. Have we? Round of applause for everyone. We have rolled with it and been accepting when needing to adjust quickly and respectfully of what individuals need to feel safe today and over the past 2 years of the pandemic. We have provided everyone with their Leeds-Grenville Survivor buff. Yes, fashion. For those of you, do we have a few that watch Survivor, the show? You have made it to the merge. Okay, we'll just put it's an inside joke for those. We also have some regular masks if anybody wants one outside on the registration table, should you wish, and also hand sanitizers at every table, so shake and squirt and shake and squirt. That's all I'll say. Today we are back together with friends and colleagues to build those very important relationships which have done us so well over the past 2 years. We should be proud of how these relationships have stood as well. When the pandemic started, the relationships that we built right here in this room allowed us to quickly mobilize and come together as a region virtually and form a business support working group that supported businesses throughout the region. This working group included representatives from municipalities, BIAs, chambers of commerce, MPP's offices, small business center, employment services, and ministry agency representatives. I would like to thank all of these individuals that saw the greater good of working collaboratively. At times, no boundaries were there. Oh, looks like I'm going to have to pay $10, but we'll talk about that in a second. Thought it was on silent. Okay. It's still apparently someone's got the hot button to not let it go silent. There we go. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. We're good. I want to take a second with that business support working group. For the people that were involved, could you please stand and acknowledge these individuals that just took a step forward? So all throughout this room, there are individuals that were on that business support working group. Each of the municipalities, the different offices. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge the summit partners and the committee members that have made this event possible. Our MPP, Steve Clark, right here, give a wave. Michael Barrett, our MP. They give tirelessly to this event, and thank you for being partners with her. Rob Nolan from the City of Rockville, I think you're here, Rob. Amanda Tradford from the town of Gananoque. I don't know if I saw Amanda come in. Dana Valentine, I did see. From town of Prescott. Frank O'Hearn, I know he was on his way if he's here. Tom Russell couldn't join us. Katie Nolan, I did see you come in somewhere. There you go, Katie. And Tina Stevens from Valley Heartland CFDC. Before others join me on this stage, 2 items. You'll like this one because I guess I'm paying to someone. Cell phones, please turn them to silent for this very reason. In previous years, we have taken effective way of dealing with this. If your phone goes off like it just did, so I owe somebody $10 to one of the food banks. So someone keep me accountable. I think Bonnie's here. Is Bonnie here? Yeah. Okay, Bonnie, I've got $10 for you in my purse. If you can put your phones to silent, and if not, then we'll just collect as we go. And maybe, hey, it's time of year to give $10 to the food bank. So there we go. For those of you that are tweeting today using the hashtag LGActDev, and without further ado, let's get on with, LGActDev 2022. So without further ado, let's get on with today's agenda. I'd first like to welcome our Member of Parliament for Leeds-Grenville-Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes, Michael Barrett, to the stage. And for speakers as they come up, there's the side stairs. There we go, one too many.
Well, thanks very much, Anne. Good morning, everyone. For those of us who know Bonnie Pigeon, she's probably going to be calling everybody now to get your phone to ring. So don't let an opportunity go to waste, Bonnie. But a great reminder for all of us and dovetails with some of the realities we're seeing in our community these days, and that's that we're living during a cost of living crisis, and food bank use is actually at an all-time high. Nearly 1.5 million visits to food banks in Canada in a single month, and this wasn't planned, and so I'll have to get on with my planned remarks. But a third of all food bank users in our community are children. And the folks who are working at our food banks have told me that some of the challenges they face are being able to serve people at hours where they can get there because they're coming from their jobs and then going to the food bank. So certainly it's something that we need to be mindful of for those who are able to please give, but it does highlight the realities of these really challenging times. And over the last 2 years, we've seen the federal government spend unprecedented sums of money. And those deficits that they used, I won't belabor whether or not all of the money was meritorious, but it's caused some of the inflation that we're facing. And Canadians are now paying more in taxes than they ever have. I could say that, of course, the government simply needs to cut taxes to alleviate the burdens that Canadians are facing, but we need to have practical solutions to go along with that. And replacing new spending by new spending being funded by savings that are found elsewhere is an important way to do that. That's what we all do in our households. But we also need to make sure that government is able to get out of the way where the barriers that we're experiencing in our community that we're facing. Housing is a good one that we're going to need to address. And we have in my friend, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, our MPP Steve Clark, a plan from him and his government that isn't bananas like the old one. So I'm not sure if you're going to talk about banana planning today, Minister, but it's really important that we remove those barriers, remove that red tape, remove those gatekeepers, because we know that when we're trying to attract people to our community, when we have a workforce shortage in all sectors, it's tough to get people to come here. It's tough to get people to relocate to our community, to bring new Canadians to our community when we don't have adequate housing. We don't have enough housing for folks. So that's incredibly important. We also need to find ways to reduce the barriers for individual Canadians, just finding that their money's not going as far as it has in the past. Removing the carbon tax from folks' home heating is something that's gaining a bit of attention in Ottawa with other opposition parties as well, and we hope to see some success with that. But also for farms in our community, removing the carbon tax from their farm fuel bills. We know that along with housing, we do have a skilled and unskilled labor shortage, and so this is something that all levels of government are going to need to work together to address to help the businesses in our community. So lots of challenges, but we're in a room full of folks who overcome challenges, who create jobs, who create wealth in our communities, create opportunities. So this is a tremendous opportunity that we have every year, and my thanks to all of the partners, especially the United Counties of Leeds-Grenville Economic Development Office for their work in putting this event on, because it's the spark for a lot of folks that's going to light the fire to get us not just through the next year, but through the coming years. So it's always a pleasure to have an opportunity to have some small input on the planning of this event, but also to take part in as much of it as I can before the whip detects my absence from Ottawa at some point later this morning when I'm going to disappear. But a real pleasure to be here today with my friend Steve Clark, our fantastic MPP, our Warden for the United Counties of Leeds-Grenville, Roger Haley, our host mayor, Nancy Peckford, and all of the municipal officials newly elected today, along with their staffs and all of you. So thank you for inviting me to be here. I look forward to the conversations, discussions, and to see what comes next for our fantastic community. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next, I'd like to call upon our Member of Provincial Parliament for Leeds-Grenville-Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes, the Honourable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Steve?
Thanks so much, Ann. MP Barrett, Warden Haley, Your Worship Mayor Peckford, other municipal mayors, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real honor to be back on stage here at our annual Economic Development Conference for Leeds-Grenville. I think I'm one of the few that have been to this event every one of its years, albeit in 3 different positions. But the same resolve is here today as was over the last several years when we did it in a little pillbox of a studio in the Bill Thake boardroom at the United Counties office. I want to thank all of you for the work that you do in your local communities. Around the room, I see our riding's leading economic development men and women, people who work every day, both in agencies and in businesses and in municipalities, to really try to do the same thing, and that's try to set up a system of prosperity for the citizens of Leeds-Grenville. So I commend you, and I commend the fact that you're all here in person after a pretty tough couple of years. You know, responding to the new reality is really the theme of today's conference. Is very timely. The program that the partners have put together is fantastic. I'm really pleased with the caliber of speakers and also the caliber of local stories. And I think that's one of the very unique things about this event is we're not shy to talk about success, and we're not shy to be able to build upon the success, which I think is very important. I'm very honored, and I'll get him to the stage once he gets by all the closures on the 401 today. But I'm very glad that my colleague, the Honourable Peter Bethlenfalvy, Ontario's Minister of Finance, is going to be here today. And normally my role at this event would be to talk about the fall economic statement. And so I'm glad that I can get the author to speak about it rather than try to paraphrase some of his good work. But as we move into the Christmas season, I just want to say that I hope you'll all, in the spirit of what Ann said and what MP Barrett said, I hope you'll think of others if you're able to. I have a Christmas reception on December 4th from 1 to 3 at the Brockville Convention Centre. And other than bringing your best wishes, I'd love you to come and bring a non-perishable food item that will be distributed to one of our local food banks. I think it's really important that as we come together and talk about the economy and talk about how we can respond to the new reality, that we also think of those that are less fortunate. But there's a lot of enthusiasm out there. I see shiny new mayors and shiny new councillors. And, you know, as Ontario's Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, you know, we have a great roster of 444 municipalities that have prioritized things that are important, like what MP Barrett said, housing. His reference to banana is something that a municipal official once told me, that we're now past NIMBYism, so we're now past not in my backyard, and we're into banana, which has built absolutely nothing anywhere near anyone. So we have to change bananaism. We have to make sure that we put plans in place at the province. We have to work with our partners in the municipal sector. Also have the federal government to do their share as well, because it's a shared priority that we all need. And ultimately, we have to put a plan in place to have people whether they be that young family that wants to realize the dream of home ownership, or it's that newcomer to Canada that we want to welcome. We've got the federal government indicating that in the near future, we're going to have an additional 500 new Canadians come to our province. We realize that we'll probably get about 60% of them in Ontario. Many of them in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. So we've got to have a situation where we welcome those new Canadians to our province, because it's the best place to live and to work and to raise a family. So we want to make sure that those new Canadians, those young families, those seniors that want to downsize but want to stay in the community that they have roots in and they have ties in, has a home that meets their needs and their budget. So we all need to work on that. And as well, we all need to work on projects that are going to provide us economic opportunities. I had a great conversation on the way here with Minister Kinga Surma, our Minister of Infrastructure, because I think we all agree we need to fight for every dollar we can get for broadband improvements. You know, one of the new realities, if you want to talk about responding to new realities, is the fact that broadband is not a frill, it's a necessity. And if we've known anything, thank you. And if we've found out anything from COVID, it means that we need to improve our connectivity for our children, for our families, and for the business community. So that's something that you're going to hear more from our government. But I just, again, want to thank you for braving the elements, braving for those that were on the 401, the twists and turns of one of the first winter storms. But just want to thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting all the partners. We've had a great list of partners that have really made this facility, this conference, what it is. So just thanks to everybody for coming together and being here. This is a really special thing we do in our riding, and we should celebrate it, and we should have each other's back. So thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you, Steve. And Steve's very correct in the way of this doesn't happen everywhere, and there's many other municipalities outside of this region or other regions that are here actually kind of checking us out to see how we do this. So yes, we are a group that's been very together. Next, I would like to call upon Warden Roger Haley to bring formal greetings from the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. Warden Haley, please.
Thanks, Anne, and good morning, everyone. So yes, on behalf of the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, I'd like to officially welcome you to the 14th Annual Leeds-Grenville Economic Development Summit. And as mentioned before, it's really good to see everybody in person. So it's been a long 3 years. So for the past 2.5 years, it has changed us, and it's changed how we do business. In 2018, Pierre Cleroux, BDC's chief economist, spoke about Industry 4.0 and the digital changes we needed to prepare for. The pandemic accelerated that overnight and challenged our local businesses and support organizations. Today, businesses, organizations, and political leaders from across Leeds-Grenville, along with our neighbors in Eastern Ontario and the United States, have come together in responding to the new economic realities. Speakers today will share where we are heading, how businesses have adjusted, and the opportunities ahead. The counties will continue to work with all levels of government, and I personally wish to thank MP Barrett and our Honourable Steve Clark, Minister for Municipal Affairs and Housing, and our MPP for Leeds-Grenville and the Thousand Islands. And as Anne has mentioned, their continuous support for the summit and their continued commitment to fostering growth and development in our region. I want to also congratulate the new and returning mayors, and as MPP Clark said, I guess they're all shiny. But incoming mayors of the county's council and our partner municipalities. So as I call your name, please stand up. Mayor Herb Scott from the Township of Athens. There's Herb. Mayor Jeff Shaver from the Township of Augusta. Mayor Pat Seo from the Township of Edward Cardinal. And Mayor-elect Tori Duchamp from the Township of Edward Cardinal. Mayor Mike Cameron from the village of Mariford-Wolford. Mike, welcome. And Mayor Peckford, Mayor Nancy Peckford, is Mayor Pecknish. Nancy? The head of the day. Mayor Ari Hugaboom from Council of Rideau Lakes. Mayor Robin Jones from the village of Westport. Robin. And Mayor Karina Smith-Gackney from Leeds-Grenville-Thousand Islands. And Mayor Brant Burrow sends his regrets. He had to cancel the last minute. But also from our partner municipalities, we have with us today Mayor Matt Wren, new mayor of the city of Brockville. Mayor John Beddoes from the town of Gananoque. Is John here today? And Mayor Gory Shanker from the town of Prescott. Welcome, Gory. So as warden, I'm honored to represent the counties at the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus also, and that's composed of 13 municipalities. We remain strategically focused in working with the provincial and federal governments on affordable and attainable housing with a new project and our commitment from the Wardens Caucus to finding 7,000 new rental properties over the next 7 years in Eastern Ontario. In addition, the caucus is working with healthcare, human resources, and also continues to advocate for the community, paramedics, and long-term care. Locally, at the county's council, we are moving forward with the expansion of County Road 43. I think you may have heard something about that. And Mapleview Lodge in Athens. These multi-million-dollar investments are the largest projects that have ever been undertaken by the counties. We've also moved forward in hiring an affordable housing coordinator, Caroline Rigetto, who's here today. Caroline, can you stand up? Where's Caroline? There she is. She's got a big job ahead of her. So this is the one time of the year where we all come together to share our challenges, opportunities, and successes. Partnerships amongst our communities and businesses is absolutely crucial. Today is about learning, building leadership capacity, and networking to renew and build relationships that will support us as we respond to the new economic realities. In closing, thank you everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules, and all of today's speakers are going to be giving their time, and I want to thank them and sharing their expertise. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. It has been a pleasure working with you over the past 2 years, and I believe it's next week we'll be electing our new warden. So thank you, Roger. I think this might be one of your last official duties, so appreciate that. Okay, yeah, if you have space at your table and you see people at the door, just put your hand up and kind of flag them down, and then people can come on in. Next, I'd like to, last but not least, is our mayor from North Grenville, Nancy Peckford, to bring greetings. Nancy?
Thank you very much. It's been such a rich set of reflections this morning, so I certainly don't want to be repetitive, and I think, Anne, your system may need some refining because everybody's clearly certainly not really wanting to, I think, celebrate the fact that we're all here together again, and I think there were moments during the pandemic where we really wondered if that was going to be possible. So it's an honor for North Grenville, for the municipality, and for myself to host you all. It has been a long couple of years, and I think the chance to gather again is just so significant. We've discovered that Zoom can do a lot, but it certainly can't do everything, and the human interaction and the opportunity to gather and really see each other and connect in new and different ways, I think means the world. I was thinking about what do we do here, right? We talk about issues that we really care about. I think we exchange information, but more to the point, I think we're wanting to create the conditions for opportunity, and maybe opportunity we don't always see. Maybe we don't know all of the opportunity that is beyond us or right before us. And I actually looked up the definition of opportunity, and it is an event or moment at which actions of importance, of significance can be achieved. Opportunity is more than a succession of moments, but a critical or decisive point in time, a period marked by distinct and favorable conditions. So to that end, what I wish you today, and it's a pleasure to have some outgoing mayors here, some newly elected mayors here, some re-elected mayors here. I wish all of you good creativity, collaboration, energy today, and perhaps the capacity to imagine something together that we haven't quite foreseen on the horizon. And I'll say the one thing that I think we did as counties that we might not have thought we were going to do 3 years ago is we came together and we hosted the International Plowing Match. And I want to congratulate everyone for what was a significant effort. And, you know, I remember being actually in this room for the volunteer recruitment meeting about 18 months ago in the middle of a pandemic and talking to my mayor colleagues, some of who came up for that meeting. And we thought, oh my God, can we really do this? Are we really going to make this happen in the middle of a pandemic when actually the IPM had experienced its most sustained disruption. So they were disrupted for 2 years. So, and I think even the Ontario Plowmen's Association was sort of really, I think themselves really hoping and pulling together and wanting to believe that we can make it all come back. And, you know, that IPM on Kemptville campus wasn't just about North Grenville, it was about the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. And it was about a property that certainly our MPP and Minister Steve Clark has invested in through some key economic development and education opportunities. And, you know, once again, I think when that college closed a number of years ago, it wasn't obvious to all of us how that campus would come to life in the way it has now. So what I think we can learn is that sometimes loss actually brings opportunities in ways that we don't always foresee. But it's through persistence, vigilance, I think creativity and ambition that that's how we get where we need to go. So thank you. I really hope you seize the opportunity that is before you today. We look forward for what I think are some rich discussions, and thank you for traveling either from far or near to join us. It'll be a great day, and thank you to Anne very much for all your work.
Thank you, Nancy. And it's absolutely back here. Your staff have been fabulous in pulling this all together. As it's amazing how much you can forget. Was the stage to the center, to the left? You know, it's all those little details. So we appreciate all the work that they've done. Before we get to our keynote speaker, I'd like to bring your attention to some of the items at your tables for reference to be shared on the table. Keeping the trees standing upright for the most part is the agenda and the speaker bios and participant lists. So please share those. The agenda and the biographies, yes, are also online at investleedsgrenville.com/summit 2022, along with the ward nominees and today's registration participant list. Some of that has changed, obviously. People come, people go, different scenarios. Everyone has a copy of the evaluation sheet, and we're back to the good old days. You cannot leave the building until you actually fill this out. It's part of the report card. We watch as you leave the building. That's your ticket out, okay? Today's event is being recorded by Baldwin AV, who is also providing the sound and lighting. The video recording will be posted on the Summit website in December. Finally, I would like to quickly acknowledge the Leeds-Grenville Economic Development Team, that if you need anything today, please approach them. Joanne Pohl, who you met at the front desk, Administrator and Communications Support. Deanna Clark, who's at our doorway taking some pictures. Economic Development Officer. Shelby McFarland is over at the photo booth. So go get your group photos. You haven't seen these people for a long time. Get them captured there. Cindy Bolton's also around at the back, and she's our digital services support. Jeanette Johnson, who some of you met at registration and at the back corner here, small business development officer, and Carol Hardy, who's also going to be helping out with the digital photo booth, small business program assistant. So do ask them if you need anything. Coat check. If you got coats at your seats and you want to be more comfortable, that's out to the side. And washrooms, head towards the stairs, and there's male, female on either side. So without further ado, let's get started and have Minister Clark come back and introduce our keynote speaker. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Anne. It gives me extreme pleasure to introduce one of my colleagues in the legislature and my great friend, the Honourable Peter Bethlenfalvy, Ontario's Minister of Finance. And Minister Bethlenfalvy was elected in 2018 for the riding of Pickering-Uxbridge. And he's a real great promoter, as we all are, of Leeds-Grenville. He is a fantastic promoter of the municipalities in his riding. He served as our president of the Treasury Board when we were first elected as a government in 2018, served till 2021, and has now taken the position since then as Ontario's Minister of Finance. When he became president of the Treasury Board, I had the real pleasure of being his seatmate in the legislature. So I got to know Peter very, very well as we would chatter during question period. Well, I would chatter during question period, so he would listen to some of my nonsense. But the one thing I want to say about him, he brought with him to the legislature a tremendous financial background. You've seen his reference in the bio section, the fact that he was involved in a senior position with TD Securities in the US, the fact that he was co-president of DBRS, really brings an incredible amount of financial knowledge to the cabinet table. It was a real honor for me to sit beside you, Peter, and really learn from your vast knowledge as someone who has spent, his life in and out of politics in various positions. It was really great to hear about someone's background that was totally different than my own. But you're a great friend. You're so smart. And I couldn't have been more proud of you on Monday when you tabled our fall economic statement, our province's plan to build. So I really appreciate you being here today. I know you've gone through all the 401 closures. This guy was off the 401 more than he was on the 401 to get here from Pickering to North Grenville today. Just really honored that you're able to share with us your view about the fall economic statement, the plan that you've put forward, which since Monday has landed extremely well. Lots of accolades out there for you, and well done for all the work that you've done. Folks, I really want you to give a great Leeds-Grenville welcome to my friend, Ontario's Minister of Finance, the Honourable Peter Bethlenfalvy.
Oh boy, yeah, we drove a long way, and apologies for that, but thank God I lowered the gas tax because we spent a lot of gas. It's great to be here, and Steve, those are very, very kind words, and Steve has shown incredible leadership day in, day out. I'll just say I'm the son of two Hungarian immigrants, one who came during World War II as a 10-year-old, 1944. My mother came. And her brother and her parents, they were separated, reunited 3 years later, didn't know if they were alive or not. And so I met my grandparents and my mother and her brother and three great-grandparents, and they all lived in one roof, in one house under one roof. And that's the dream, whether you're born here or you came to this country, that you can have a roof over your head, that you can raise your family, that you can get a good job, that you can get your kids educated, so that they can then rise to be the Minister of Finance in the leadership of Steve Clark to help build this province so that dream of home ownership can exist again for everybody in this province. I want to thank you, Stephen, for that. So I'm very pleased to be here in North Grenville, and I did come off the highway there, and I saw the signs for Kempville, and of course Kempville, I am a bit of a history buff, and I schooled Steve Paikin on this in an interview a few weeks ago. I said, do you know who's the last premier to win a bigger majority with the same size legislature in the history of the province? Of course, they said Bill Davis or John Robarts, or it's got to be Mike Harris. A majority back to back, but not a bigger one. The last premier to do that was Howard Ferguson in 1929. From Kempville, Ontario, the last premier to win a bigger majority. Until, of course, Doug Ford. So into the challenge with that, now he has to manage a bigger caucus, but that's a nice problem to have. I do want to talk a little bit, it's a real honor to be here, and when Steve asked me to come, I was thrilled to do it, and I said, should I speak in the morning or should I speak in the afternoon? He said, pick the morning. So here I am, and I'm glad you did suggest that, Steve. I do want to talk about the progress that we've made in our plan to build, which Steve highlighted up here at the podium, the fall economic statement that I tabled Monday, and I did 24 TV interviews and radio interviews and ended with Steve Paikin the other day. That was on Wednesday night, and it has gone extremely well. I've gotten a great reception in my travels in this past week, including yesterday morning, standing with the Minister of Labour, Monty McNaughton, and a bunch of unions. You know, we have developed such a strong partnership with many private sector unions across the province, and the reason, and you know, people have said 8 private sector unions endorsed our party in the election, and that's unheard of. But the reason is very simple. We all have the same goals: to have good jobs, bigger paychecks, be able to raise a family, to work in this province, and help build this province. And so we were very proud to stand with the union yesterday as we announced a $40 million addition to the Skills Development Fund. And what is the Skills Development Fund? It's helped retrain almost 400,000 people in the few years that we've had that program for the jobs of tomorrow. So the skilled trades, a number of skilled trades, the healthcare workers, a whole range of jobs. Sometimes you go down one path and the market goes a different way. But to be able to retrain 400,000 people in just a couple of years is remarkable, and they're standing shoulder to shoulder with us. Now, I do want to share with you as well some targeted measures we are proposing in the face of these economic and fiscal challenges we are seeing around the globe. And these truly are uncertain economic times. And Steve and I are from a certain vintage where we saw interest rates and inflation this high 40 years ago. And that for many people is a brand new risk and challenge to deal with. La conjoncture économique est incertaine. En 2022, l'indice des prix à la consommation de l'Ontario a atteint un sommet inégalé depuis près de 40 ans. And we're suffering from high inflation because of the consequences of a worldwide pandemic that we've just gone through, Russia's illegal war on Ukraine, which has caused supply disruptions around the world and affected many industries. And I'm certain that I don't need to tell you that here at home, that the cost of groceries and everyday goods continues to be stubbornly high, whether you're paying rent or your mortgage has gone up or the various components that go into the price of everything. And the months ahead are likely to be marked by ongoing economic turbulence and a slowdown in growth. This is why our government has a responsible fiscal plan, and it will help us navigate through these uncertain times. So let me tell you a little bit about that plan. First off, to build Ontario's economy, we're making real good progress in attracting investments and good jobs. Over the last 2 years, we have attracted more than $12.5 billion in transformative global automotive investments of electric vehicles and EV battery manufacturing plants. And we've attracted $2.5 billion in investments that will help make the province a world-leading producer of clean steel. So converting the steel plants in Hamilton, the Dofasco steel plant, from coal to electricity. The one in Sault Ste. Marie that's owned by Algoma, from coal to electricity. And by the way, our electricity grid is 94% zero carbon emission. That's through hydro, through nuclear, through renewable. So we have one of the cleanest grids in all of North America, in fact, the world. And that's what, in part, attracting a lot of companies that are coming to Ontario because they are using the energy that's clean to drive the economy and deal with climate change. In addition to that, we have to build our workforce. We're making progress in training students and workers to succeed, as I said, today and tomorrow. I mentioned the Skills Development Fund as just one example. almost 400,000 people re-skilled, retrained for the jobs that are in demand. We've added already 11,700 healthcare workers, including nurses and personal support workers, since the beginning of the pandemic, and we've added them to our healthcare system. To build infrastructure for Ontario, we're making progress by getting shovels in the ground on critical projects right across the province, including early works on the land acquisitions to facilitate future widening of Highway 401 through, wait for it, Brockville. And that's in no large measure through Steve Clark's advocacy as the MPP for the riding, and also a great voice and advocate for the region. We've also invested over $950 million in nearly 190 broadband, cellular, and satellite projects, bringing access to over 375,000 homes and businesses. And that was important to me. I put that in the budget about 2 years ago to say, we got to connect everybody in this vast province. And there were almost 750,000 underserved or not served at all homes and businesses across this province. And I said, not only do we need to connect the whole province, but we have to do it by 2025. And this is just another example of getting it going. And we have a lot of work to do to keep costs down. Our government eliminated, I don't know if you have many subways here, but if you drive, the license plate renewal fees was $120 per vehicle. You know, to give people a break, and we refunded 2 years of past license fees to give people a break given the high cost of living. And it's helping make life affordable for more than 8 million vehicle owners in Ontario. Now, that's real money in their pockets. We have saved and continue to save money for Ontario households, as I mentioned, by temporarily lowering the gas tax. And that we had done it from July 1st of this year to the end of December 31st. But I said to the Premier, you know, people are still hurting. You know, the cost of everything has gone up. We need to continue this. And he's a big champion of that. So we're continuing the gas tax relief for another year starting January 1st. So it's going to be a year and a half. To secure our long-term prosperity, we must increase supply. We have that, and what does that mean? That means we need to build hospitals and housing and highways and roads and manufacturing capacity. And that is exactly what we're doing each and every day, because it's important that we get things done, that we actually, it's one thing to be in gridlock or to see a building in construction, but it's really important that we get it done, we get it on time, built on time. And we're also advancing our plan with new targeted measures to rebuild the economy, address the labor shortages in the province, and keep costs down for all families and businesses. Nous présentons aussi notre plan pour mettre en œuvre de nouvelles mesures ciblées dans le but de reconstruire l'économie, combler les actuelles pénuries de main-d'œuvre dans la province et garder les coûts bas pour les familles et les entreprises. This government, because of voices like Steve's, and right across this province, understands Main Street Ontario matters. That's why we're proposing to increase the number of small businesses that could benefit from the small business tax rate. This change will lower costs for small businesses by providing $185 million in tax relief over the next 3 years. And our province is facing an historic labor shortage. So let me talk about that. There are you've probably heard the Premier and others talk about, there are over 387,000 jobs currently unfilled across the province. There's more jobs than people. And we recognize the incredible potential in each and every person in this province. Everybody in this province. And that is why we are proposing to increase the amount a person on Ontario Disability Support Program, also known as ODSP, can earn from $200 to $1,000 per month without impacting any of their income supports. This measure would encourage people who want to increase their work hours to do so and promote more participation in the workforce. It would allow the approximately 25,000 individuals currently in the workforce to keep more of their earnings. and could encourage as many as 25,000 more to participate in the workforce. And our government also recognizes that there are many ODSP recipients who cannot work and that they need our continued support. That is why in August we announced a 5% increase to ODSP rates. And going forward, we plan to adjust ODSP rates to inflation beginning in July of 2023. So when the cost of living increases, income support would increase as well. And you know, we made that announcement on Monday for the increased earnings exemption, so they could keep more money in their pockets and not affect any of the benefits. And the many disability associations, the Community Living of Toronto, the Ability Centre, and other disability organizations said, no government has done this in 20 years. They've been asking for 20 years, can you believe that? 20 years for this measure to be done. They said it's an absolute game changer. Many had tears in their eyes when they were talking to me. And that's one small reason that people like Steve and I and the mayor for the second term, congratulations, that we do public service. It's to help many who need our support. Every one of us in the room is here to support them, and I'm so proud to have made that announcement last Monday. We're also talking about skills training, and I mentioned it through the Skills Development Fund, and I mentioned the $40 million. That brings us to $145 million for the Skilled Trades Development Fund. It represents an opportunity for thousands of people to have a successful career in the trades, especially high school students. And that is why our government is expanding the dual credit program, creating direct pathways for high school students seeking a career in the trades or in early childhood education. This gives students the opportunity to complete credits towards an Ontario secondary diploma, school diploma, or a college credential, or a certificate of apprenticeship, and begin work earlier. I met this woman at the press conference yesterday with Monty McNaught and Courtney, and she worked in a bar, and Courtney, because of COVID, didn't have a job. And she went through the skills development training program, and she's now a pipe fitter, a steam pipe fitter, large pipe, she explained to me. And she has been doing it for a year and a half now, and she is unbelievably happy. And we need people like Courtney to work in the skilled trades because we're building right across the province. Now, at the same time, we know, as I said at the outset, that this is a challenging financial time for many in our province, and it is being felt by some of the most vulnerable in our province. I mentioned the gas tax cut, which we've done. This will put $195 on average for every household in Ontario. But let me also talk about seniors. Seniors built this province, and we owe them all a debt of gratitude. I just attended 5 remembrance events and meeting the veterans again and thanking them again for their service, and then to help build this province, this country. But for too many low-income seniors today, covering day-to-day costs has been a source of anxiety. Many are on fixed incomes. Many are hurting with higher inflation. And that's why I announced on Friday that our government is proposing to double payments for all senior recipients of the Ontario Guaranteed Annual Income System program for 2023. This measure would provide a maximum increase of almost $1,000 per person for low-income seniors for the year, and that would impact up to 200,000 seniors, low-income seniors in this province. Now, our government is taking a targeted approach, and when faced with this degree of uncertainty, we need to be flexible and forward-thinking with a fiscal plan that is ready to support people and businesses when and if the time comes, while also laying the fiscal foundation for future generations. So after unprecedented spending in response to the pandemic, now is the time for governments to show broad restraint, to act cautiously and responsibly. Irresponsible spending today will only make inflation more painful and drag out the economic downturn. And I will say to you all today, the economic road ahead will not be easy. But I firmly believe there's nothing that we cannot do together, no challenge that we cannot meet, no obstacle that we cannot overcome. I'm very confident that whatever the economic uncertainty that is around for all of us, we'll meet it head on. And rest assured, your government has a plan to get us through these challenging times together. Because I believe fundamentally, because together we can get it done, we can build Ontario together. Thank you very much. Now, I'd be happy to take some questions if we have some time.
Absolutely. And so do we have anyone in the audience who has a question for the minister?
I'm sure this is not a shy group. Over here. Oh, we'll do.
I was just wanting to break the ice, and then I can happily bring the mic over to my colleague, Mayor Jones. I did want to recognize the significance of the changes to the Ontario Disability Benefits Program. It's really game-changing, I know, for so many low-income residents in Ontario who have unfortunately found themselves on a disability program. So just wanted to quickly ask, what was the deliberation that led to that particular moment? Because we know the benefits program has been fairly stagnant for a number of years now, and certainly I think these changes will be very, very significant. So just wanted to thank you, but also just sort of get a better sense of your thinking on that.
It's a great question, and thank you for that. I got in politics. Why did I get in politics? I did it. I worked in the financial sector my whole career, but growing up as a young kid in Montreal, and being surrounded by three great grandparents who told me all their stories about the wars in Hungary and World War II, and they risked life and limb to come to a country where they could be free and they could have democracy, and that they didn't want a handout. They wanted just to live safely, to have a job, the roof over their heads. But so I really fundamentally believed as a young kid that this was the greatest country on the planet. And I'm a little older now, and I still believe it's the greatest country on the planet. But that said, some people, for whatever reason, life isn't fair, or for whatever reason they have challenges. And I also fundamentally believe that we've got to help those who are most vulnerable. And it's a core value of mine. I know it's a core value of the Premier, and it's a core value of our government. So while we support the economy, and we want to grow jobs, and we want to grow the economy, and grow the pie, frankly, so that we can pay for world-class health care and social services and education, I believe fundamentally, as part of our government's mandate, is to look at all aspects of the most vulnerable. And that's another reason, for example, not just the ODSP rates, and we'll continue to do things. There's a whole suite of programs that people on disability, meals, medicine, vision, dental care, supportive housing. It's a big reason why Steve Clark is leading really nation building. Steve is doing a nation building job, and it's not easy some days in that job, so that people can have the dream of the home ownership. That's not just for a young family. That's for, as I said, people who seniors who want to go from a home to a more age-friendly home. It's for people on disabilities who need more accessible housing. It's for affordable housing. It's for all of society. And we can either talk about it in committee and create another task force or have another hearing about it, or we can start getting the job done to build the housing right across the province, so that we can accommodate the 300,000 people and the people who are here who have the dream of owning or living in a property. So that was a long answer to a short question, but I think we got to think about it for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, one right here first and then your last one. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Go ahead. Oh, I'm already up, she says. All right, thank you very much. I hope I don't take your question. Minister, thank you very much for being here. My name's Robin Jones. I'm the mayor of Westport, and I'm the chair of Roma. So you heard the round of applause. You may not have heard it for Minister Clark and yourself when you talked about broadband, because that is an essential service, particularly in rural Ontario, which we found during COVID. Some of the other announcements you've made today have been long overdue, and we're happy from my own municipality and Roma. So probably not a question, but something to leave you with, and Minister Clark made the same point about the immigration, and that there was a reference to the Greater Toronto, Horse and Hamilton area. We have jobs that need to be filled in rural Ontario. For rural Ontario, it's an issue of housing, employment, and transportation. Because in my municipality, I may well have the jobs. Village of Westport has lots of jobs, but we don't have housing. And Minister Clark is doing a great job with that, but we need the people. So wherever the planning is for where these people are being offered opportunities, please don't leave out rural Ontario, because we need people to fill our jobs.
Well, that's a great comment. If I can just build on that, and thank you for those comments, and thank you for your leadership, including Roma. One thing about COVID is many people wanted to move out of the cities, and so in some respect, areas like this are beneficiaries of that. But we're also going to bring in a lot of people, and we are bringing in a lot of people. And it's not just housing. Housing is absolutely critical here for all of rural Ontario, all parts of Ontario, the north, every part of Ontario. But you got to have the infrastructure. We got to build those roads. We got to upgrade the roads. We got to make sure that that we've got the broadband, as you mentioned. That we got to make sure that all forms of transportation, the widening of the 401 that we're engaging in, and making sure that we have the bridges. We doubled the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund. I did that. It was $1 billion a year, and we doubled it to $2 billion to support many rural communities, municipalities. So not only doubled it that you would have more funds for infrastructure, but we did it over 5 years, $1 billion extra a year for 5 years, so you'd have the certainty of the funds. And that, I think, is helping almost 390 municipalities out of 440, 390 more smaller municipalities, not the big ones. So, we're going to continue to have a mindset of all of Ontario. I'll maybe pivot up for a second to Northern Ontario. For the longest time, they've had the minerals, the critical minerals that will go into the electric vehicles and the battery manufacturing. They've got the minerals. And so instead of having to go to China or Russia to get those minerals, we have them right here in Northern Ontario, but there are no roads. There's no infrastructure. So we put a year ago on my budget, or fall economic statement, a year ago, $1 billion to work with First Nations to get that road built. And I'm going up after this to Ottawa to continue to implore them to put in their $1 billion so we can get an infrastructure and a road to prosperity for the north. So it's here in Eastern Ontario, it's in rural Ontario, it's in Northern Ontario, it's all of Ontario, and we are going to get it done. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Debbie Hutchings from Ward 4 of Rideau Lakes. My question is, what do you have planned for the agriculture sector?
Well, the agriculture, which is a terrific question. We've done a lot of funding in the agriculture sector, including increase the risk management program. We've also put a lot of money under Lisa Thompson's leadership, the Minister of Agriculture, to put more money into innovation into the sector. Our big grant programs for that, including processing, so we can get more processing capability within the province. Under Todd Smith's leadership in the Ministry of Energy, we're expanding a number of farms don't get access to gas, to be able to link them up to gas. So I think in the last budget I announced phase 3 of that expansion in my own community up in Uxbridge. That's a winner. That's getting the gas connected into many of the farms. We're going to continue to support the agriculture sector from a technology point of view. And so that we can have scale and leadership. And I think more than ever, what we've seen over the last couple of years with COVID, with Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, how the food security and the critical issues of supply, and we have it all right here in Ontario. And so supporting the sector is not just about supporting our communities, supporting good paying jobs, but it's also all about food security. And when you have all the resources, and Ontario is so blessed and rich, it's an area that we're going to continue to support 1,000%. And I know 1,000% is not good math, but as your finance minister. Give me a pass there, please. So thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Minister, on behalf of Leeds-Grenville, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Well, my pleasure, and thank you to everybody here, and thank you for your leadership. Nothing happens without the work of many people in collaboration, so thank you for your leadership.
Wow, what a way to start the morning. All righty. Food and break and networking, here we go. 15 minutes keeps us on track. In the lobby, you'll find the washrooms, refreshments, and snacks. Also, just we'll gather back here for 10:15, 10:20, and we'll be having Pierre Cleroux, who is already here with us, and look forward to hearing his next update. Alrighty, thanks everyone. Be back in 15 minutes max.